Roll call for the City Council meeting of February 6, 2019 at 9 a.m. Mr. Winarski, Ms. Allen, Mrs. Arrington, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mrs. Schaaf, Mr. Witherspoon. Please rise for a moment of silent meditation and Pledge of Allegiance.
Mr. President, I would, as we move into this moment of silent meditation, ask that we remember those in our community that are less fortunate than we are, both locally and globally and in every way. Also ask that we remember those who have lost loved ones in our community since the last time we were in these chambers. In particular, a very close family that I'm connected to grew up and was raised with a young woman, Janine Davis, who passed away end of last week, close childhood friend, and died, as we might say, all too young. So remember that family as well. And finally, ask our God and Creator to give us the wisdom and the right information to make the best decisions for the citizens of the City of Erie.
Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of minutes from the meeting of January 16th, 2019, and bills for payment on February 1st and 8th, 2019. Ms. Allen, Mrs. Arrington, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mrs. Schaaf, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Winarski.
Do we have anybody here this morning for a repository sale? Anybody here this morning for a repository sale? Hearing none. Brings us to citizens to be heard. I don't know if we have a Charlene Bittner here, or Beitner.
Good morning. My name is Charlene Biter, and I'm the Adult Education Manager for Tech After Hours. Tech After Hours is an adult career training program through the Erie School District. We deal with individuals that are 18 years and over with no upper age limit. We offer career training to adults that are looking to better themselves. Our students can come to us with a high school diploma or even without, and we offer them the GED program right inside of our building, so they can come to us for their GED and then go on to get their career training. These programs that we offer can be free if the student qualifies. The GED program is free for everybody. The career training program can be free if they qualify. We work with CareerLink, we work with OVR, we work with veterans benefits, and any programs that the individual has access to that could provide funding for to pay for the tuition for our programs. We offer auto mechanics, construction trades, welding, machine technology, and culinary management, and those programs are each 1 year. And we offer patient care assistant, and that's a 6-month program. All of our programs offer industry recognized certifications, and we help train the employee or the student to become an employee. We offer the soft skills training. We offer assistance to help them put together a nice resume that reflects all the skills that they've learned in their time with us, and we help them with job placement assistance. 75% of our current students have jobs in field, where once they get to a certain skill set, we offer them to certain employers, and they have the ability to offer them a full-time job. So our students are working full-time in industry while they continue their training. For the other students that prefer to wait till they're done, jobs are available. We have many employers who are coming to us looking for trained employees. So the jobs are here, and we are providing that training for local employment, so that individuals can find that family sustaining wage. All the programs that we offer are listed on the Northwest Pennsylvania High Priority Occupation List, which means there are jobs in Erie. The programs that we have do offer jobs in Erie. The application process is very simple. We have an online application at our website, which is www.eriesd.org/adulteducation. And there's an online application. They can also find out more information, such as a description of the program, the certifications offered, and the tuition. And they can fill out the online application. At that time, the application goes directly to me, and I would send them an acceptance letter after I review a few qualifications. Then I invite that individual in for orientation, where they can meet with CareerLink to see if they qualify for funding, where they would then, if they qualify, they would attend our classes for free. We have rolling start dates, which means once all of their paperwork is approved through CareerLink or whoever their funding source is, then we set a start date. So we don't have a traditional start of fall and spring. We start whenever they've been approved. And then their program goes 6 months or a year from that time. And our individuals then start with their training, their certifications, their soft skills trainings, and things like that. We have a regular graduation ceremony. Many of our students didn't complete high school, so they never got to experience a regular graduation. We have gowns, we invite family in, we have a full graduation ceremony at the end of their program. If anybody had any questions or wanted any information, I will leave flyers here at City Hall, and that has my phone number and email address on it. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to me tell you all about the great things that Tech After Hours offers. Not only residents of Erie, but anybody is welcome to come to our programs. Thank you.
Can I ask you one question before
Absolutely.
you go? I know you have the online application. Is there any way they can go physically and fill out an application for this?
Yes, we have paper applications. When they go to the website, they can download a paper application, or they could come to Erie High School to inquire about a paper application. We just did the online application because people are so used to doing things online now.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Did anybody
Any
else
other
have
questions,
questions?
Council?
Thank you for coming, Charlene. It was nice meeting you last month. And do you have an age limit for your application?
We do not have an upper age limit. They have to be over 17. We don't have an upper age limit. The oldest student that I can remember dealing with was 69 years old. She was a GE retiree, came to us for the patient care assistant program, did an awesome job, went on, got hired as a PCA, and that company trained her to be a CNA. She now still works as a CNA with that company, and she's almost 72.
Good.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
A quick question. You talked about tuition, sponsorship, or funding coming via different organizations.
Yes.
So if there's an individual who doesn't necessarily qualify, I don't know what might be that criteria. Is there a way of them finding out what is like installments, or is there a way that they could pay for it independently? Or I don't know how expensive the program is without funding from an OVR or CareerLink.
First, the orientation, when they come and they meet with us, CareerLink comes to our facility every Tuesday. So that individual would work with them, and they would talk to them about what's required to see if they qualify. And it's not just income. There's a wide range of ways that they would qualify. Barriers, the more barriers they have, the better chance they would have to qualify. But our 6-month program is $2,600, and our 1-year programs are $5,200. And yes, we could set up payment plans for an individual who didn't qualify at all, and we could set up payment plans.
Well, I appreciate that. There's a few people that I've even just thought of. I wouldn't know what the criteria are, but they might be able, if they're readjusting their career and wanting to do some different educational
Yes,
things. So
You know, we deal with dislocated workers, we work with anybody that's looking for a second chance. We deal with all the agencies, with OVR, Climate Changers, Serve Erie, all those that reach out. And we also have welding and machining apprenticeship programs that individuals work through their employer to send students to us for the apprenticeship programs too.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Other citizens that signed up were Tracy and Harry Maynor. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name's Harry Miner. This is my wife, Tracy Miner. We're co-owners of the Cluck Truck. We're here today to discuss the proposal of the raising of our fees for our vending in the city, of our electric, our street vending, and our parking.
We've been doing this for 5 years. If you didn't remember me, I'm the one who fought for the electric to begin with. The food truck business, for most of us, is not a game. Our trucks are not toys, it's not a hobby. It's how we put food on the table. And considering you're raising every prices, you must understand that we have 3 hours of business, a window of 3 hours. Depending on if it's not raining or high winds, it's a very small window, and you're lucky if you get 4 to 5 months of business downtown. We're not just a food truck, we're a welcome center, we're an informational booth. You wouldn't believe the people that come up and ask for information. Now that there's a few more, they're struggling to start out their business. A lot of them, it is not a hobby. It's how they're going to do their living. We have noticed that there's been a lot of changes. All of a sudden, our designated spots have been removed. There's jostling to try to get in. The reason I fought for electric for the trucks is because there was designated spots, and we all had our courts made adjacent to where the electric boxes were. Now there's sometimes where I come downtown and I can't even plug in because all the spots are taken. As complaints we get, as certain trucks that have been downtown over the years, they look out the window, they don't see the truck, they go somewhere else. We feel that it would be difficult for these new trucks as well as us, if you have these higher prices, to start our business. We're here to serve our community, and you're making it more and more difficult for us to even start. Before we can even turn the key on the truck, if the projected prices you want to raise, we're looking at $500 or more. That doesn't include our food for service. If these prices keep continuing to raise, we're going to have to raise our prices, and we would really hate to do that because most of us have the lowest price we could possibly do it, so we can serve you the best we can. And we've looked into the other cities, such as a bigger city as Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh, I believe, is
$70 for an annual and $35 for a temporary. Harrisburg is $50 for a seasonal.
And most of these, the bigger cities, with this vendor fee also comes if you serve light food, you only have to be 15 feet away from that restaurant. And if they don't have the light food, you can park right there. They don't have designated times where you could be. They don't designate where you can park anywhere in the city, and as we do, which is fine, down on State Street. And, you know, all of a sudden we're hearing that you're going to close State Street and reroute, and it's just so unnecessary. I do believe if you set a permit parking up till 10 a.m. for all the food trucks to come in, after that, if you're not there at that time, it's a free-for-all for any cars or whatever, would be very, very helpful for all of us. I think the designated food truck spots, if there is a proper spot for everyone, would be fantastic. It would stop any problems for food trucks having trouble with each other. And as for the community and anybody looking out at one could know, oh yes, they're there. Because see, it's not a competition of who's better than who. It's what you want. Oh, I feel like this today. I feel like that today. And we want all of our food trucks to be a community. We work together. So far, we have been working together very well. And we'd especially consider you to consider that, again, this is how we put food on the table. It's not a hobby. It's not a game for us. Thank you.
Thank you both.
My name's Freda Tepper. I live at 1738 West 23rd Street in Erie. I'm a certified orientation and mobility specialist, and I might add, I also have a master's in adult education, so I'm happy to hear about the programs the school district offers. I listened to the mayor's news conference about the ULI report. I've been reading the ULI report. I heard Mr. Persinger's statements, and I also listened to the mayor's State of the City address. I am concerned about what's the word, irrational exuberance? I think that's what Greenspan used. The way in which Mayor Schember talked about the PennDOT plans for the Bayfront. The PennDOT plans for the Bayfront include no current funding or construction or plans for pedestrian overpass to the Bayfront. Anybody who went to those sessions and had to inquire specifically if those overpasses were part of the plan. It was only after considerable pressure by attendees at those sessions to reflect the considerable public concern about pedestrian access at the Bayfront were the purpose and needs statements amended for that project to reflect the overall concern for pedestrian access. So I am concerned that the mayor gave the impression during his State of the City address that PennDOT's proposal for the Bayfront is going to take care of the iconic connection to the Bayfront and really make major pedestrian concessions. They're not there. I really urge the City Council to put together a study session on the whole panoply of projects for the Bayfront. What's going on with the port? What's going on with the Erie events? What's going on with Scott? What are the overall plans? What is the Bayfront? Who's doing what? What decisions have been made? Where are the opportunities for public input? Because it's just a mishmash of stuff, but as every single plan that comes in here says, this is the most important asset the city has. This is the most important thing we have, and we're in danger of overdeveloping, cheapening, and destroying the pedestrian access to the Bayfront. So I urge you to move carefully with whatever authorities you have and the ability to ensure interagency coordination at the Bayfront. I also want to continue to encourage the city to improve pedestrian safety and access. I've talked with Councilman Kwiatkowski. We have 4 underpasses in the city at Liberty, Cherry, Ash, and Parade that have no lighting at all for pedestrians. We have people who want to decorate the lighting of the 4 or 5 downtown underpasses, but a more crucial concern is what is the safety of the people who all day long, week after week, use the ones in the neighborhoods. This is a question of safety. This is a question of equity. This is a question of let's treat all pedestrians as important. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. We have time for one more citizen to be heard because we do have a public hearing at 9:30 scheduled. So looks like that's going to be you. Good morning.
My name is Ellie Cullen. I'm the Development Director for Roar on the Shore Bike Week. Roar on the Shore is a nonprofit charity rally. We're in our 13th year. It's held the 3rd week of every July right here in downtown Erie in Perry Square Park. I am here this morning to respectfully request that pending official ordinance 7-2019 be tabled until the date to be determined. This is one of the things on your agenda this morning. And that ordinance proposes to increase the minimum insurance requirements and application fees for City of Erie vendors by 100%. We value the relationship and appreciate the continued support that we have with the City of Erie and Roar on the Shore. We have developed a great working relationship over the past 12 years. The positive impact of this event on our local economy is estimated to increase year by year, and now it appears that it's to the tune of about a $35 million economic boost for the City of Erie and its surrounding areas during the week of Roar on the Shore. During the week of Roar on the Shore, it is reported that there is a 100% occupancy rate in hotels for a 50-mile radius. Local establishments and restaurants are often filled to capacity, both locally and regionally. The rides and programming of Roar on the Shore take the thousands of attendees throughout the City of Erie and patronize well over 100 businesses, both locally and regionally. It is events like Roar on the Shore, Tall Ships, Ribfest, Celebrate Erie, and others who are uniquely able to provide a quick uptick in outside tourism money invested to grow Erie's economy. It should be noted that Roar on the Shore maintains an average of 100 vendors annually during the event. Each vendor pays the City of Erie a vendor fee of $100, which provides an additional $10,000 in revenue to the city each year. Roar on the Shore solicits, collects, and reconciles the fees and remits it to the city. ROT's due diligence alleviates any administrative burden on the city when it comes to the collection of the vendor fee. In addition to our positive economic contribution, we market this event outside of Erie for our region at no charge to the city as an attraction and as a tourist destination. When it comes to the vendors also, Roar on the Shore provides vendor administrative services, setup, trash removal, electrical service, and security at a cost of $27,000 per year at the event. Roar on the Shore is a nonprofit charity rally, and to date, we have donated $950,000 over the past 12 years to local and regional charities that provide valuable services to this community. We recognize that the city is in a budget shortfall and may need greater economic assistance, and we would like to work with you on this issue. However, and most importantly, the proposed 100% increase in the city's vendor fee permit will have a negative impact on festivals like Roar on the Shore and others. Increasing the financial burden on vendors, particularly small vendors, it will be a detriment to the city's economic well-being and investment efforts. This issue deserves further discussion among those who will be affected by your governing body. Stakeholders and representatives from similar economic drivers, as well as the vendors and the City of Erie's Economic Development Office, should convene to discuss the affected impact on their operations in relation to the city. Please allow us the time to provide you with information which may be useful in the crafting of an ordinance where those involved may have a voice to reach a compromise to help the city achieve its objectives. Due to our relationship with the City of Erie, the positive economic influence of Roar on the Shore, and the charity support in our community, we respectfully request that you table this ordinance and not vote for final consideration today. Thank you.
Thank you. Rose, I believe now is public hearing.
Pursuant to the provisions of zoning ordinance number 80-2005 and the proper legal advertising, the City Council will hold a public meeting at approximately 9:30 a.m. in City Council chambers regarding the request by City Council for proposed amendments to the City of Erie zoning ordinance, Article 3, Section 303 signs, and Article 6 definitions.
My name is Freda Tepfer. I live at 1738 West 23rd Street in Erie. I'm a certified orientation and mobility specialist, and I consider myself a person with a visual stimulation sensitivity. I appreciate the former council member Mirsky assisting to bring this issue to the council and the efforts of the Planning Commission to bring it through the process along with the attorney and the people in the code enforcement. What I believe that the city is proposing is to bring their sign ordinance up to current standards consistent with many jurisdictions all over the country, including our neighboring jurisdiction of Mill Creek, to reflect LED signs. LED reader boards, many of them are too bright, many of them flash, flip, spell too fast, turn, just work in a variety of ways that can be visually disturbing to those with visual stimulation sensitivity. And frankly, in my conversations with people about this issue, many people have complained about the Playhouse, the Cathedral Event Center, the sign on Liberty and 12th Street. I have no understanding why does a sloppy duck sign just continue to scroll fast, 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 fast. Nobody could possibly read what it says there. I can see the LED reader board sign at the Bayfront Convention Center from the Presque Isle State Park. The signs are too bright. Daytime, they're too bright. Nighttime, in the nighttime, they are disturbing and impair the ability, especially of older drivers, to adjust. It's hard enough as you get older, and a lot of you up there might agree with me, to see when it's raining and dark. Is that a timer? No.
There's no timer.
No. Okay. When it's raining and dark, but when those signs are so bright, and then you have difficulty adjusting to the change from the glare to the no glare, it's a real hazard. There's a number of signs that just flip and spin and spell, and it's just not necessary. And the thing is that most, probably, I can't say, but most of the signs have the ability built into them to make these adjustments. We're not taking away the ability of people to do their advertising, but there's a huge proliferation of these signs, and it is totally appropriate for the city to make this change now. At a meeting of the Planning Commission, I heard the city planning director say that she was surprised it hadn't been done sooner. So I urge the city to move forward on this very good idea to protect the safety of our citizens and, frankly, the visual appearance of our town as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else to speak in favor of the changed amendments?
My name is Sue Campbell, and I live in Northeast, but I've been involved in Erie for a long time. I want to address outdoor lighting, of which Frida talked about the signs, and I agree with her. And with the advent of LED lighting, we're seeing a real ratcheting up of lighting at night. And this is hard on older eyes because your eyes, they don't respond quickly enough to the new lighting, the levels that we're seeing. I think it's really important that communities look at outdoor lighting and ask that things be shielded and ask that moderate levels of lighting be addressed. And I also think that, and this doesn't have too much to do with this council, but a lot of LED lighting is used in vehicles nowadays. So you're driving down the road and all of a sudden there's a light bomb coming at you. This is very dangerous too. So Anyway, I would suggest that we look at the International Dark Sky Association and their guidelines for outdoor lighting, because they're known worldwide for their work on outdoor lighting issues. Any questions? Anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Council, members of the administration. My name is Ned Smith. I live at 634 West 2nd Street in Erie and have for the last 31 years. I applaud you looking at the sign ordinance, but I think you should broaden your scope. I want you to imagine what the Bayfront can look like in 20 or 25 years, from East Avenue to Frontier Park. Maybe there'll be construction into the hillside. Maybe the tracks will be gone, more construction there. Erie Events certainly has some projects going to happen down at the Convention Center height. Harbor Place is being developed now. Hammond is being developed now. PennDOT is going to be doing God knows what at the corner of State Street. Now imagine what Upper Peach Street looked like in the 70s and look at it today. What do you notice when you drive up Upper Peach Street? Sign, sign, everywhere a sign. Do we really want the golden arches right next to the Convention Center sign? Do we want a Target sign right across the street from a shipyard? Do we want a sheet sign developing or showing in 6-foot-high letters what the latest price of gasoline is? Or maybe Lamar advertising the latest hospital procedure or educational offering? So what I encourage you to do is take a look at sign ordinances across the country. As this woman back here said, we don't want to cheapen the Bayfront. We don't want signs, McDonald's and Wendy's and car lots and hospitals and various sizes, lighting configurations, etc. Take a look at some of the ordinances across the country. We could have some tasteful signs, we could have consistent signage, we could have uniform construction of signage all along the Bayfront. Right now you look at the cobblestone, you look at the sloppy duck, you look at Erie Event signage. None of it is very consistent, and I fear that if we have another 2 miles of signs, it's just going to cheapen our Bayfront. So I suggest you take a look at this as you look at your sign ordinances and, you know, punt it over to the whatever design committees, the Bayfront zoning or waterfront zoning ordinances, planning commissions, and take it, just want to put this on your radar screen that think ahead, think 25 years down the road and what our Bayfront Parkway will look like. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Anybody else here this morning to speak for the ordinance change?
Good morning, Council. My name is Greg Coleman. I'm the president of the Erie Seawolves. We do business at 110 East 10th Street. I'd like to speak against the ordinance or the specific changes of the language that are in it for a couple of reasons. First, at UPMC Park, we have found that since installing exterior backlit signage for the ballpark, we've had fewer trespassing incidences. It's a safer place for our employees, and I realize there are 24 hours pieces of that, and there are hour after you shut off pieces of that. But for us, the fact of the matter is we have very uneven hours at the ballpark, and it's our belief that not having the backlit piece will make the ballpark an unsafer place and the community around it an unsafe place. So we believe there should be some type of designation for landmarks at the very least as part of that. Additionally, the definition of illuminated sign seems to include signs such as the stadium video board, which currently is visible from French Street, as well as the new proposed LED signage at the Warner Theater. These are, in our minds, not necessarily signs as they are entertainment pieces, and having an 8-second minimum on those really renders them useless for the purpose of what we're trying to accomplish. And so I would just ask that you take a look at the language that's there, because I think it is broader than maybe what is intended. And we certainly wouldn't want these entertainment venues that bring people downtown to be negatively affected, to have someone to be able to enforce in a way that maybe wasn't intended. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Jim, make sure it's pros first and then cons.
Yeah. Once again, it was supposed to be who's in favor first and then who's not in favor second. That's...
Good morning. John Buchner, representing the Erie Downtown Partnership, conducting business at 140 East 5th Street here in downtown Erie. In regards to the ordinance, I want to echo the reality of the impact it can have, that to inform City Council that we are in the process of developing design guidelines that do work with both negative and positive needs to take the concerns into a growing downtown and bayfront, so that there is a level of professionalism that these signage can encourage. We encourage and are working to develop the standards that can be better implemented so that we can have a quality of life aspect that adds vibrancy, but ultimately works with the businesses that have a promotional need to identify their location. I wanted to express that as an organization and working with the city administration to develop these and implement these, as it is taking time, but it is underway at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, John. We'll go with anybody else speak in favor. Hearing none. Anybody else to speak not in favor of the changes? I think. And does the city give a recommendation into this, I believe?
Yeah, did we have a letter written in for reading or not?
We may have had.
That's Rose.
I think, Jack.
Oh. Yeah, Rose. Did we have a letter again?
Good morning, council members, members of the administration.
Yeah.
My name is Jake Welsh. I'm the Chief Zoning Officer for the city and Secretary of the Planning Commission. I'm here today to read the recommendations of the Planning Commission regarding the proposed amendments to the ordinance. The City Planning Commission has completed their review of the sign regulations contained in the zoning ordinance, and that was per a City Council resolution which had requested that the Planning Commission consider implementing additional sign code regulations specifically related to LED reader boards on their speed of message changes, brightness, and time of use, and refer back to Council with recommendations. Based on that initiative, the Planning Commission reviewed a lot of language regarding that specific issue and did prepare proposed amendments to the zoning ordinance, which have been sent out to council previously. The Planning Commission at their regular meeting on October 16th of 2018 had voted unanimously to recommend that council approve the proposed amendments. The Planning Commission recommends the amendments be adopted based on the grounds that the current ordinance language does not adequately address these types of signs. The proposed amendments were developed based on research of sign ordinances in Pennsylvania, including model ordinances prepared by the Pennsylvania Planning Association, to determine the most common and appropriate regulation standards for illuminated signs, electronic displays, and message centers. The proposed amendments are also consistent with the City of Erie Comprehensive Plan, and it should be noted that the County Planning Department also issued a review letter indicating that there were no inconsistencies with the county's comprehensive plan as well. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Council?
No, I think it'd be nice if we, before we make this vote, you know, in the future, have him come down and address council about specific questions. I know when I looked at it, it's a pretty big statement. A lot of stuff I'm not sure of the exact wording. So I think, you know, fairness, if he'd be willing to come to council, you know, either before, you know, for
one of our caucus meetings, sure.
Something like, so we could all, you know, get some questions about specifics into it.
Yes.
I agree with Kaz, especially I'd like to have the concern raised by Gary Coleman answered also about the scoreboard. And in all
transparency, I do work at the Seawolves, and I know what he means. I was smiling when I was looking at him and thinking about that game where we were there till midnight and employees were leaving. So I think there were some interesting questions raised. So I agree with Kathy. I think that would be a good way to proceed.
Very good. Jake, we'll try to set something up where you can meet with council maybe for 15, 20 minutes before one of our meetings, and we'll discuss it further.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Very quickly, are there, and I haven't read the details and respectfully, the minutia of all the details, but are there provisions that I guess answer the question that the sports teams would have in relation to their type of signage that is kind of stationary, that has multiple purposes? It's not messaging and fast lighting that can be extremely distracting to drivers of all age and varying visual abilities. So is there some very specific language on each type of lighting and each type of signage? And then how far forward are we looking in relation to, as someone mentioned, 15, 20, 25 years down the road? How do we, and of course we can change whatever with every council, I understand that too. But just how much foresight was put into that, thinking along those lines?
Well, there are definitely distinguishments between identification signs, which typically would be advertising the business at that location, versus outdoor advertising or off-premises signs, which are not necessarily impacted by these proposed amendments. This does focus specifically on essentially all types of illuminated signs, and there were, it should be pointed out, regulations in place. They just weren't detailed as far as some of the illumination standards. So in other words, things like scrolling messages, or glare, into traffic, things of that nature were already existing in the ordinance. So there are some distinguishments between the different types of signs, and this also does not address the current regulations, which indicate the type of sign, the size of signage, and location of signage based on the zoning district that the property is located in.
Right. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I want to thank you, Jake, for all your work and study that you have been doing. Like you mentioned, you have reached out to the county and Washington, D.C., the state guidelines as well. I've been sitting in on the planning commission meetings since October, and you really have been doing due diligence with this. So I appreciate all the time and effort that you have been doing. And the planning committee has been working along with you on that. So I really think it is a necessary thing, and I appreciate your work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I believe that would bring this to a close.
Thank you.
That'll take us back to citizens to be heard. Is there any other citizens to be heard this morning?
You have to adjourn the session first.
Rose, do you adjourn or do I adjourn the?
You can adjourn it.
Okay. Let's adjourn the public hearing at this time.
So close.
You want in? Yes.
This is on any topic?
No.
This
This
is
is a public hearing regarding the
Just on the
sign
sign
orders.
issue. Okay, then I'm sitting back down. Sorry, it's
Okay.
my first council
Stay-
meeting. I don't know how it works.
Hang loose. Don't move. Can we close the public hearing now? Thank you. That gets us back to citizens to be heard. You're up.
Get my steps in today. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
You can tell I'm a little nervous. This is my first city council meeting. My name is Adam Williams. I'm a partner in the Williams and Jordan law firm. We do a lot of work with startup businesses and entrepreneurs, and I myself am an entrepreneur. Last year I spent something like $20,000 on cheese because a friend of mine convinced me to start a food truck. So We launched about a year ago with our truck. We didn't do it to set out to make a whole bunch of money. We thought it would be something that's good for the city. We see trucks that focus on one type of food do very well in other cities. We see the vibrancy that they create in other cities, and we thought that we could be a part of that. I think now we are pretty close to having our truck sold, actually, to a second generation owner who would really take the thing and run with it, because my partner and I are pretty busy with our day jobs. And over the course of the last year, we launched the Erie Food Truck Alliance so that all of the truck owners could work together, because we realized it was better for us and it was better for everyone around if we worked together and if we coordinated our efforts a little bit. Also in the last year, we launched Food Truck Row right in Perry Square, which I'm sure you saw. We had the support of EDDC, we had the support of the Erie Downtown Partnership, we had the support of the Perry Square Alliance, and we had the support of the city administration when we did that. I spent a lot of time working with and focusing on small businesses and entrepreneurs, particularly in the city, in my real job. And it's hard for me to name a single growing industry in our city. It's just a challenge. It's not manufacturing. We all know that. Tech seems to be growing. There's a lot of weight being thrown at that right now. Erie Insurance is doing well, but they're their own animal. But food trucks are growing. In the last year, we launched the Big Cheese food truck. Doug MacArthur purchased Brooklyn Pizza. Chris Kay launched the Apocalypse food truck. My favorite story is, I don't even know these guys, but the guys from the shawarma station, they're like immigrants. They're not even born in America, and they're here pursuing the American dream, and they start a truck up, and when I leave my office at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday night, they're still out there hustling, selling sandwiches. Like that, to me, is pretty inspiring. The first day that we had Food Truck Row, I went down and I was standing in line at Fat Boys Phillies, another new truck this year. And some guy behind me in line who I didn't even know said, "Man, is it like this downtown every day?" Because there were trucks and there were people and there was music and it was a vibe that I honestly turned around and said, "Nope, this is the first time something like this has happened." And again, this is like a Tuesday afternoon. And that was part of the reason that we started our truck. We thought it would be good for our community. I represent the gentleman who owns the Jimmy John's franchise, all of them in town, but particularly right on State Street. He loves it. He loves the number of people that we're drawing to that area of town because it benefits his business too. Not everybody wants to spend $10 on a grilled cheese sandwich, but they'll walk into Jimmy John's or they'll check out one of the other trucks. My concern is the proposed increase in fees sends the wrong businesses to startup businesses, to entrepreneurs, to people creating jobs. We had a lot of different people work for us this last summer. Fortunately for all of our customers, I personally made 0 grilled cheese sandwiches. Some of our best employees were actually students at Erie High. They were in the culinary program there. They'd get dropped off at the library or Perry Square or wherever we were that day. Their parents would drop them off and they'd come in and make pretty good money for a few hours worth of work and get some great work experience. And it was, I sounded like an old man. I don't think I'm that old, but telling these kids, you know, I remember my first job and the impact that it had on me, and it's really great that we're able to provide that for them. I'm not sure what how this idea got originated to increase the fees, but as I mentioned, I'm afraid it sends the wrong message. If the idea is that we're trying to raise revenue, let's discuss some other ways to do that. I think there are some other options out there. If the idea is to try and level the playing field with brick and mortar restaurants, I can assure you that's not an issue. The building where we run our business out of pays $6,000 a year in property taxes in the city. The building where we store the truck pays $12,000 a year in property taxes to the city and county and the school district. When I graduated high school and went off to college, my parents lived in the city, a really nice house in Glenwood. Their property taxes tripled, and they moved to Lake City. The difference between your residence or your business, where taxes increase just about every year, is they're not mobile. Food trucks are. We don't need to be in the city. We can go anywhere. We have private events where we're usually booked. Is that my time? To echo the sentiments from the Manufacturers Association, please table this. Let's sit down and have a discussion and come up with a better idea and send the right message to people that are actually creating businesses. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey guys, my name's Scotty Freeman. How you guys doing? I own Fat Lenny's and I own Hippie and the Hound. Guys, what this guy just said, I don't know if you guys have ever tried to open up a business. It's not easy. These guys that are opening up these food trucks, they're trying to live a dream, and they've got 5 months out of the year to make a little bit of money. I mean, you know, come on. Now, all you guys go to places like Austin and San Diego and Asheville, North Carolina, and all these cool places, and you go, I want what they got. But you don't know how they got it. You don't ask, how did they get it? How did they grow that vibe? And it isn't by nickel and diamond the guys have got a dream. It's by, you got to encourage that. You've got to treat it like a garden. If you make the garden so that the only flowers that get to go here are Jimmy John's and the big guys, you're going to have a really boring garden. And if you got to make it where the flowers can grow and where the weeds get taken out. And by asking for another $100 for these food trucks, that's silly. That's silly. It tells the guy that's working for me right now. There's a guy he's going to be a great business owner one day if he sees that what we're doing is worth it, and for me and then for him. But if you nickel, I don't even have a food truck. But when I heard about this, I was just like, no. This isn't how we do it, guys. You know, I'm busy trying to build out my shop down on 8th Street after being run out of by insanity. If I told you what happened up on Peach Street, and I ain't talking about the windows breaking out, I'm talking about some of the other stuff that went going on. It was insane, you know, some insanity. And so asking these guys for more money is not the way to go. All right, you know, talk to these guys that got the food trucks. You know, encourage more people to open up more food trucks. You know, instead of letting the guy up there have his parking lot full of all junk cars and all the stuff that behind where my shop was, turn that into another place for food trucks. Put up some picnic tables for them and some hookups. Work with other food trucks. Get more of them, not less. That's how you make more money, and that's how you make, like you said, a vibe. People playing music, people having a good time, and then people are gonna be like, I want that. So, you know, that's all I got to say on that. You know, please table that. That's not the way to send the right messages. We got to send the right messages to people like me trying to open up businesses and give out jobs and do it the correct way. You know, it makes people want to do things the wrong way. So, you know, and I can have a long conversation with you about what happens when people do it the wrong way, all right, including myself. You know, I've made mistakes in what I did by opening up Fat Lenny's and not really following some of the codes correctly. It was a force, but it was because of the way everything's set up. It's set up against us. So work with us business owners. You know, stop nickel and diming us, because the more little guys we got trying, the more money you will make. Just on, you know, but if you got people going, I'm not going to do this, you're just going to make nothing, and you're not going to have anything. It's not going to be fun. So, good luck, guys.
Thank you.
Good morning again, members of Erie City Council and the city's administration. I am John Buchna, representing the Erie Downtown Partnership as the director of that organization, representing more than 300 plus businesses in downtown Erie, as well as an active participant on the Perry Square Alliance Board of Directors. I too want to express the concern and ask City Council to table this ordinance so that it doesn't take effect without additional working together to find a way that we can continue to work with this city. Understandably, it's a 35-plus-year-old ordinance that's in place. There is a need for funds, understandably. We get that. But the message that we're sending is a message that allows us, as we continue the efforts to further activate our downtown, to put more activation into the investment of Perry Square. $3.7 million went into that park. We want to get a return on that investment by having people, by having organizations to support that. And a lot of it is going to come in the growth of small businesses. The efforts our organization, the Erie Downtown Development Corporation and our Erie Chamber of Commerce, in efforts to lure more businesses to Erie, in particular to downtown Erie, this fee can pose a little bit more of a barrier and sends a message that maybe you're not wanted in downtown Erie as and/or welcome as what we want you to be. So understandably the situation, but we're asking for more time to work together to find solutions in efforts that have had success. Recently, the Holiday Village, where that was enabled to activate retailers that were not currently in downtown to be part of our downtown in the future. And just not limited to food, there were book vendors, popcorn vendors, different vendors that were more of retail in nature. That's our concern. So please, we just encourage you to allow us more time to work together to find ways that we can offset and help further generate revenue for the city, but ultimately do it in a quality aspect, not in a quantity aspect. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Good morning. My name is George Albert. I am the Long Island Lunch Wagon. I'm along with all the other food trucks. I originally am from New York City, so I wasn't originally an Erie resident. I've been in Erie for 10 years. When I started my truck, I hand-built it myself. Friends of mine asked me why I wanted to be even bothered in Erie, since they have been living here most of their lives, and said that Erie City doesn't care. I started looking into some of the venues that were going on here when I started my truck and saw that there was no local vendors involved in any of the events going on downtown. Until last year, the city started allowing the trucks involved in city functions. And I thought that was great. Until recently, when we saw that all the fees were going to be raised, and I am not against raising things, it happens. I think your jump is a little extreme. So I would also agree if we could, come to a different agreement on all the raising of things so that people like us who are trying to get started, we're not being cut out right from the beginning. Thank you.
Can I bother you for your address just for the record?
My home address is East 4th Street, 206.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other citizens to be heard this morning?
Hello, everyone. Hi. I'm not used to this. My name's Keith DeLuzio. I'm the owner of Lake Effect Food Truck, Lake Effect Lunches.
And your address, sir?
9015 Williams Road, Northeast PA. I drive my truck, 20-some miles one way, just to come into town. It is a great park. I grew up here. I went to high school with our past mayor. I'm an East Sider, West Siders, we're all the same. We're all in this together. I have noticed the park flourishing since the trucks and everybody have been down there. People come out of their buildings, their cubicles I call them, and they see the sunshine and they see everything going on. That's fine. A lot of people sitting in the park. I see that you guys are trying to deter some of the people that bother the people that come to the park, which is good. I mean, I see you guys motivating the vagrants and drinking and things like that during the day, because those people see that, and I've heard people not want to come down because of that. And in the past summer, last year, it was different. People started coming more and more. I'm just asking for some more time so that we can show to table the fee hike, just so that we can all get together and reasonably put something out. If we had to hold an event just to raise money for that one-time fee, I'm sure some of us would be involved. A lot of the vendors that we're talking about don't make a living like I do on this corner, or the Cluck truck and some of the other trucks that are here. I try to be here 5 days a week. When I'm not here, people from Erie Insurance and other places, they yell at me. why weren't you here yesterday? I said, it was pouring rain. They're like, yeah, so I have 3 kids. It's the only thing that I do. My wife works full-time in labor and delivery. So we look forward to doing this, and now I've turned her into a food truck junkie. We want every day down there for everybody to be perfect. You know, I give out free water on hot days to people. Somebody had stopped by and gave me a case of water the following day to give to others. So we try to keep things positive down there. Now we have all of our cords covered so that people can't get injured on the sidewalk. I respect that. Some of the people still happen to trip on them, but those are the people that are texting and walking and doing other things. But all in all, I just wanted to make it known that aside from, you know, I've watched the Cluck Truck, I've watched them show up, and they don't, I've watched them show up and then have to leave because either there's other vehicles or they can't get to their electrical box and they can't do other things. So I've always wondered, where do they go? You know, I have to show up at 8:30 in the morning, so it's a full day for me. People think we just open our windows and make all this money. It's not that way. We start early. I'm up late. We have to clean the commissary and clean the dishes and do everything and get ready for the next day. We have to go shopping, and yeah, it's just not as easy as people think. But as far as being an asset to the community, I think we are. It is exploding all over the world. We're currently selling our home and heading to South Florida, where fees are cheaper. We can do this year-round. You know, we can hang out in the palm trees with my in-laws now. We're just taking care of their cat while they're enjoying themselves. But we're not leaving because of the fees. We're just leaving so that we can do this year-round. And we do only work about, you know, maybe 5 months at tops for most of us during the summer. So it's difficult. You know, I get it. I understand because food trucks are new and popular. I was joking last week. I said, you know, if walking your cat in the park was popular, if too many people did it, there might be a fee for that. I was joking with some friends, but I didn't plan on coming up here to talk today, but I'm just trying to stick up for the food truckers. And I have Mayor Joe and some of the other people, they all come and eat with us, and I think they see the vibrance that's on the sidewalk mixed in with some of the negativity of people walking down the sidewalk. But all in all, I think it's all been a positive thing for Erie. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Any other citizens be heard this morning? Hello there. You get it?
I don't know. Good morning. My name is Rhonda Pearson. I'm at 546 West 3rd. And I wanted to come this morning to speak on the Crime Victim Center because it's hard for people in wheelchairs to even get up there because there's no cuts to get up on the sidewalk. And it's dangerous. I'm afraid I'm going to flip over.
Can you tell us where that was at again?
The Crime Victim Center.
The Crime Victim Center, okay.
I think it's 825 West 18th Street.
Okay. Okay. Anything else?
No.
All righty.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Rita Wera, and I was in there's 2 little topics here. I was at an event last year.
Get your address, please, ma'am.
460 Robinson Road West, Erie, 16509.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I was at an event last year, and I noticed that there was an out-of-state food vendor along the sidewalk there. And we found the food trucks were in like the West Erie Plaza. What a party they had going on there. And it was shameful that party was not downtown. So I think there should never be an event where Erie, Pennsylvania people, food trucks, are ever not permitted to be around because any veterinary should be permissible to have food trucks, you know, but you have the plan going. The other part of it is people coming from anywhere downtown, you know, to downtown, seeing the back ends of food trucks all along the edges. That's not necessarily what we want to be seeing constantly. I think we should think of an area for food trucks, all the side roads. And I understand when there's vendors and they have their tents, that's going to be taking up many of those spots. But you don't want citizens coming and only seeing food trucks along the main areas of downtown. Something to really think about, because, you know, the trucks and the exhausts or whatever, but food trucks is not the buildings and it's not the downtown we really want to only see. And the side roads are really set up for, you know, vendors, but food trucks can be in those areas a lot better than downtown. You know, I mean, downtown's fine, and I'm not worried, and I didn't plan this, talk about this, but it definitely is something to consider. Because right in your main square, the back end of food trucks is not as pretty as seeing what you've already done to beautify the community. And I love seeing the fountains. I love seeing what's going on. But back end of trucks do get in the way from a photographer's viewpoint, you know, as I am. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other citizens be heard this morning? Any other citizens to be heard? Hearing none, we'll continue on with our agenda.
Ordinances for final passage. Council File 16066, official ordinance number 6, 2019. An ordinance closing and vacating approximately 12-foot long section of unimproved alley at the southwest corner of West 5th and Cranberry Streets with reservation of existing utility rights-of-way. By Mr. Jones, second by Mr. Winarski, the Council File Ordinance Bill number 16066, now known as Official File Ordinance number 6, 2019, be finally passed by the City Council. Ms. Allen, Mrs. Arrington, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mrs. Schaaf, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Winarski. City Council passed Official File Ordinance number 6, 2019, finally by yeas 7, nay 0. Council File 16, excuse me, 067, Official Ordinance number 7, 2019. An ordinance amending Article 313, Peddlers and Sidewalk Vendors, Section 313.03, subsection A11 and B, by increasing the minimum liability insurance requirements and application fees. By Mr. Witherspoon, second by Ms. Schaaf, the Council File Ordinance Bill number 16067, and now known as Official File Ordinance number 7, 2019, be finally passed by the City Council. Ms. Allen, Mrs. Arrington, Mr. Jones.
Rose, hang on a minute. She wanted.
Yeah, I wanted to speak to this ordinance.
Yes, please.
First of all, I don't think my microphone is working. Yours are, but ours aren't.
You've been muted.
Hey, Mike, turn up that mic over.
Nothing.
Is that side all dead?
Our side is off.
Okay.
You're the left. Sure, or use that one. How about the one? Is it working?
Is it working?
Mr. President, I just spoke with our staff in the back, and he said right before our meeting, there was some loud noise, technical stuff that happened, and it affected that side. And I think this microphone here at the administration's table isn't working as well, so he's working on that.
That one working?
Okay. I want to thank everybody who came to speak about the proposed increase in the fees for vendors. I had a couple of things I wanted a couple of points I wanted to make. I'm voting in favor of this fee increase. Specifically, I wanted to talk about the special events, including motorcycle rallies and the Rib Festival. I know that there is concern that perhaps some vendors won't come back. So I did some checking where there are other Rib festivals and motorcycle rallies, and there are places where the fees are much higher than what Erie is going to be charging. Davenport, Iowa, Lake George, St. Petersburg, Florida. I also checked with some cities around Pennsylvania how much they charge. I think it's $250 in Allentown. So you have to compare what our fees are with other places. Fat Lenny's guy mentioned Austin, so I checked. I was up there Googling while the meeting was going on, and Austin charges an initial application fee of $105 for mobile vendors, and then for an unrestricted permit, it's $290, so $395 altogether. Now, somebody will probably say, yeah, but Austin, look at all the business that they have there. One of the things that is really important for the city of Erie is to get our finances in order. We cannot continue to go on with the type of deficits that we have. There are a lot of good things happening. The food vendors, the festivals, you're all part of that. But we also have to recoup our cost when we are having application fees. If you look back and you see that that fee has not been raised since, was it 1983? It was $100. I think in terms of $2019 dollars, that would be, I think it was $237 or whatever. This is not an attempt to burden the vendors and say, we're charging you so that we can help fix the city budget. This is an attempt to get the city fees to reflect what they actually cost the city to do the work on this, and to really put the city on a firm financial footing so all of us can benefit from that. This isn't an attempt to nickel and dime people. We did have how many study sessions on the budget where we had 2 times where we voted on the budget, where we were really looking for people to come to us with some ideas on revenue. We've come up with some additional ideas. So just so you know, this isn't a punishment. It's in line with what other cities are charging. It's in line with what inflation should have taken into account for all these years. And we are more than happy and willing to sit down, make sure that the Food Truck Alliance is happy, that we're doing the right things in terms of where trucks are parked and how we can capitalize on what so many of you have to offer. So thank you. Sorry for coming down here, but the microphone wasn't working. Anybody else need to come down to have the microphone?
Maybe that'll, look at that.
I love the food trucks. I love going around to all of the vendors at lunchtime and supporting you, but also supporting my stomach. There's lots of variety out there, and I like talking to people, and it's nice to eat in the park in the summer. But like Liz had mentioned, this has not been changed since 1983, 36 years ago. And we are actively trying to come up with new and different things in Erie all year. So the fee is not just for one event. It's for as long as you want to be out there. And I know we have bad winters, but you could be out there if you have heat, maybe. It's not just like for the summer. I look for places, different places to go all year round. But thank you.
Anybody else?
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to vote in favor of this ordinance for multiple reasons. One that have been stated very well and articulated well by other council members. It's been since 1983. I was born in 75, do the math, like 36 years ago, right? You know, we get into all the technical financial conversation that Ms. Allen brought up about inflation, and it would be $200 and plus, round number $250 if it was appropriately, you know, attributed out year over year the last 36 years. I don't even want to get into all of that because that was articulated really well. But I do think that there's a couple of things I wanted to kind of throw out. And I think there's multiple things happening in the same conversation. So we have our local vendor truck people that are either specifically Erie proper local or at least in the region, in the county local. That's one animal. I think another animal is the one-time vendor folks from out of state or out of the area. It's another conversation. And I think for me, another conversation is always a little bit controversial, and I don't mind because it's okay. There are individuals that are inside businesses that do the same thing that our vendors do seasonally. They do that outside their restaurant or their particular business through the easement, the free easement process. They've expanded their business out, and they're sitting outside with tables, chairs, et cetera. Wonderful asset and accent to their business. But they're not paying anything for it, and we're asking these folks to pay. So I think there's a lot of conversation we need to have around this. I don't think that we need to stop moving forward. I think, again, to Ms. Allen's point was that for not just the last year, but over multiple years, we've talked about raising these fees, but we didn't have maybe the votes to do it as a body, weren't sure how to make it work, and are we going to beat the local vendors over the head and all those types of things. So I think we're at the point now where everything is on the table for conversation, and many conversations that we've had previously are actually, we're pulling the trigger, no pun intended, and maybe I could have come up with a better analogy, but we're actually going to do something about what we talked about. And this is just one of those many things, because we do need to have the kind of financial footing and constant increase and constant revenue coming in so that we can have a solidified base in our city financially. Interesting thing, I'm sitting here listening, and I value everyone's opinion and respectfully do, and I'm being sincere about that. But it's interesting that we're respectfully talking about, for example, Roar on the Shore, which is a wonderful event, does a lot of wonderful things. I've worked in social services, that's what I've done for the last 20 years of my life, and they have given great financial support to nonprofits. But the people that were before the young lady who spoke in relation to Roar on the Shore and after aren't even allowed to be vendors at their event. There's a lot of stuff going on in this room around this whole conversation. And so, again, I see bringing in outside folks, which is wonderful and necessary and adds to the quality of the events. But I do see that there's another conversation that why can't we have local folks? You know, I think this is the time to bring these kinds of things up. Another thing, respectfully, and I say that sincerely because I don't want to come off flip or no one's doing this for free. Like, this is a business venture, right? And so I understand just working on a small business myself. I have an entrepreneurial heart. I got some things I'm working on. That's not a commercial, but it's just kind of very new for me. So I get it. It's a process, the financial components with the state and all the legal things we have to do, and I get all of that. But this is a business, right? Yes, add value and quality of life to our community. Absolutely, I wholeheartedly. All last summer, I was down here several days. I had a young intern. We were in the office doing things, and we picked vendors. But be careful and to say that, we're doing this for the community, because you're doing this for business. No one's giving away free food all the time. It's not a Maya soup kitchen. You're doing this because you see the business potential in doing it, respectfully. So I think, for me, language is big. So no one's giving away free food. You're charging, and rightfully so. A community asset, yes, in the quality of life piece, but it's not like a nonprofit that's kind of adding to social service value of our community. It's a business effort, and it costs money to do business. I guess I could go on, and I won't. But I think that, again, at the base, for me, I'm voting for this, not because it's a hardship on the vendors, but because it's a long overdue process. There are going to be several other fees that are going to be raised this year, or at least voted on this year, that should have been voted on and probably raised a long time ago. And so this is just part of a process that we are coming out of, this financial craziness that we find ourselves in. And finally, I'll say, again, this is no disrespect to anyone. Everyone has a job to do. Everyone has a group that they support and they are a part of, and that's important. You have to speak up for yourself and advocate. But at the same time, we, as an elected body, and I will throw the administration in, have to have a broader view of the whole of the situation, not just how it affects one demographic, i.e. food trucks or vendors or whatever. We have to do that in relation to individuals that are building and taking out building permits, and individuals that are doing a variety of different things in the community that the city has a unique offering to. And again, like I just use Roanoke Shore, and this is not anti-Roanoke Shore, please don't, it's just so big, it's hard not to talk about something that significant. There's no better place than downtown Erie to do something like that. Like, that's a beautiful exchange, you know what I mean? And so I think that, they do a lot for the community, and I think that's wonderful. But I also think that there's, again, a lot of apples and oranges conversation in this session today. But I'm supporting this. I think it's overdue. It's one of many pieces of a puzzle that is hopefully going to help give us a more firm and strong financial base with consistent revenue coming in. And if we can expand the local vendors' opportunities during the larger events to be able to be in downtown or be a part of that, I think that would be a beautiful conversation to have as well. So, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you,
Mr. President.
Sure.
I'll keep my comments a little brief, as Curtis touched on many of them already. But Curtis, just so you know, and you weren't on council, until recently again, but Councilwoman Ellen and I have. We saw too that there were 36 proposals of things that had to be looked at. And I want to assure you that the easements was one of the things we were looking at. Presently, we charge nothing. All we ask is that the city is indemnified against any legal issues by having us put on their insurance. Last time I checked, half of the merchants that participated, while I was controller and I had the records in my possession, half of them weren't even participants willingly. And I blame us for that partly. So those days are gone where the city's going to give away anything for free. Just so the public knows, this was a very, very tough budget session. And next year, is going to promise you, is even going to be worse. We do not have a lot of options. If you look at the city of Erie, our population is dwindling. Our assessed value is flat. Our per capita income is flat. As a third-class city in Pennsylvania, our citizens come up to me and ask me many questions. Why don't you do this? Why don't you tax that? The sad reality is we can't even charge a room tax on hotel rooms. And the two hotels that presently occupy the Bayfront don't even pay the county, the city school district, or the city any taxes. What are we supposed to do? We sit here, we got 60, 55, whatever you want to say, nonprofits. People come into this city and say what a great city it is from the outside. They come in here, use our city, and we love it. But then you go away back where you live. It's a sad reality that we have very few options. We can't keep taxing our citizens. We're going to probably have to, but the 36 proposals that came out of our budget sessions will address every issue that we haven't addressed or hasn't been addressed, like this one, in the last 36 years. Now all of a sudden everybody wants to help. Well, we've been in trouble for the last 10, 15 years, and no organization, including Roaring the Shore and all these other groups that wrote us letters, had any comments to us until all of a sudden now we're addressing the issue. The brick and mortar stores who pay their taxes, not every one of them benefits from the festivals that come into town. If you want to talk to me after the meeting, I'll tell you a few that complain to me that they don't benefit from the type of festivals that come in here. Not everybody sells beer, not everybody sells food. We have lots of merchants that for 3 weeks or almost a month have to suspend operations. We had one prominent restaurant move his location because of it. So all we're asking is that, you know, this fee is to control, to make sure that people follow the rules. For a while, I can tell you this, we didn't even charge electric. Presently, I think we charge a flat fee for electric. And that's still pretty generous. To address Roaring the Shore, yes, you know, you are paying for security and everything else, and the Rib Fest, but the city does a lot that doesn't show up on the books. A lot of stuff that the controller and I could never audit. We can't tell you every time one of our employees or our police officers who are not paid special for the event have to be deterred, or you know, that's all it costs, and we've gone along with it. All we're asking now is we're going to raise the fee. We're not even at the highest in the Commonwealth. It's just something that has to be done, and it has to be done because we have very few options on what we can tax and what we can do. Nobody's being punished. It's just something that, you know, this conversation should have been had a long time ago. But we've been talking about it for 5 years. And like Councilman Jones said, it's been a work in progress. And I want to thank the solicitor because a lot of this stuff had been on the books to be studied for the last 3, 4 years. And I just hope you understand why we're doing it. Not to punish people, but to regulate it and to also help defer our costs to take care of the things that we provide that we don't even charge you for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kwiatkowski. Call for the vote, Rose.
All right, roll call.
Shorter than yours.
Ms. Allen, Mrs. Arrington, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mrs. Schaaf, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Winarski. City Council passed official file ordinance number 7, 2019, finally by yeas 7, nays 0. Council File 16068, official ordinance number 8, 2019, an ordinance amending prerequisites to obtaining a permit under Article 901, street excavations, Section 901.04, subsection E, by increasing the minimum liability insurance requirements. By Mr. Witherspoon, second by Ms. Schaaf, the Council File Ordinance Bill number 16068, now known as official file ordinance number 8, 2019, be finally passed by the City Council. Ms. Allen, Mrs. Arrington, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mrs. Schaaf, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Winarski. City Council passed official file ordinance number 8, 2019, finally by yeas 7, nays 0. Council File 16069, official ordinance number 9, 2019, an ordinance amending prerequisites to obtaining a permit under Article 901, street excavations, Section 901.06, by increasing the fees. By Mr. Witherspoon, second by Ms. Schaaf, the Council File Ordinance Bill number 16069, and now known as official file ordinance number 9, 2019, be finally passed by the City Council. Ms. Allen, Mrs. Arrington, Mr. Jones,
Mr. President. Just for the sake of a quick point, you know, we did focus quite a bit on the vendors and raising fees around insurances and applications there. But again, I just wanted to be clear that this is one of multiple things that we're doing, multiple fees for service that we are raising the fees on to, again, to be more appropriate to cover the cost of what we as a city provide. And then, not even if it's not a tangible thing we provide a great space. We provide a great resource. We provide great atmosphere for certain things to happen. And we see a value in that, and we're going to start to value it in a tangible way as well. So I just wanted to say it wasn't just the vendors. It was a lot of things that we're going to be raising fees on as we move forward, potentially. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mrs. Schaaf, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Winarski. City Council passed official file ordinance number 9, 2019, finally by yeas 7, nays 0. Council File 16070, ordinance number 10, 2019, and ordinance amending Article 935 Sewers and Utility Connections, Section 935.03 by increasing fees. By Mr. Witherspoon, second by Mrs. Schaaf, the Council File Ordinance Bill number 16070, and now known as Official File Ordinance number 10 of 2019, be finally passed by the City Council. Ms. Allen, Mrs. Arrington, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mrs. Schaaf, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Winarski. City Council passed Official File Ordinance number 10, 2019, finally by yeas 7, nays 0. Council File number 16071, Official Ordinance number 11, 2019, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $1,715 from unappropriated and anticipated revenue to be received from Erie Arts and Culture. The funds will be utilized to install vinyl art wraps on signal and electrical cabinets located in Perry Square. By Mr. Witherspoon, second by Ms. Schaaf, the Council File Ordinance Bill number 16071, and now known as Official File Ordinance number 11, 2019, be finally passed by the City Council. Ms. Allen, Mrs. Arrington, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mrs. Schaaf, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Winarski. City Council passed Official File Ordinance number 11, 2019, finally by yeas 7, nays 0. Council File 16072, Official Ordinance number 12, 2019, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $2,400 from unappropriated and anticipated revenue to be received from Erie Arts and Culture. The funds will be utilized to install vinyl art wraps on signal and electrical cabinets located in the downtown area. By Mr. Witherspoon, second by Ms. Schaaf, the Council File Ordinance Bill number 16072, and now known as Official File Ordinance number 12, 2019, be finally passed by the City Council. Ms. Allen, Mrs. Arrington, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mrs. Schaaf, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Winarski. City Council passed Official File Ordinance number 12, 2019, finally by yeas 7, nays 0. Council File number 16073, Official Ordinance number 13, 2019, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $234,992 from unappropriated and anticipated revenue and providing for the expenditure thereof, school violence prevention. By Mr. Jones, second by Mr. Winarski, the Council File Ordinance Bill number 16073, and now known as Official File Ordinance number 13, 2019, be finally passed by the City Council. Ms. Allen, Mrs. Arrington, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mrs. Schaaf, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Winarski. City Council passed Official File Ordinance number 13, 2019, finally by yeas 7, nays 0. Council File 16074, Official Ordinance number 14, 2019. An ordinance in accordance with the 2019 City of Erie budget, the sum of $15,000 is appropriated from unappropriated and unanticipated revenue for use by the City of Erie Administration Grant Fund. These funds will be used to provide media services to City of Erie first responder employees. By Mr. Winarski, second by Mr. Jones. The council file ordinance bill number 16074, now known as official file ordinance number 14, 2019, be finally passed by the city council. Ms. Allen, Mrs. Arrington, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mrs. Schaaf, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Winarski. City council passed official file ordinance number 14, 2019, finally by yeas 7, nays 0. Ordinances for first reading. Council File 16075, an ordinance in accordance with the 2019 City of Erie budget, the sum of $153,427 appropriated from unappropriated and unanticipated revenue for use by the City of Erie Paving and Sewer Fund. These funds will be used for expenditures incurred by CSX Transportation in the demolition of the McBride Viaduct. Oh, forgot my vote slip. By Mr. Witherspoon, seconded by Mr. Winarski, the council file ordinance number 16075, having been read, is hereby adopted on first reading by the City Council. Ms. Allen, Mrs. Arrington, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mrs. Schaaf, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Winarski. City Council passed official file ordinance number 16075, finally by yeas 7, nays 0. That'll take us to new business.
Mr. President.
Yes.
I'd like to move the balance of the agenda.
I'll second it.
All right.
Do we have any separations?
I would like to separate.
Thanks, Bob.
Keep your comments brief.
As brief as possible, Mr. Kwiatkowski. Number 5.
Under.
New business.
Just joking.
For comment, for brief comment.
Just joking.
On the RACP.
Any others? I think that's it, Rose.
All right, moving the balance of the agenda. Ms. Allen, Mrs. Arrington, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mrs. Schaaf, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Winarski. Let me make sure I have the right one, Curtis. Is it for the
Streetscape?
Streetscape?
Yes, ma'am. Master plan. That's you.
Yeah, by Mr. Witherspoon, second by Ms. Schaaf, resolved by the Council of the City of Erie that the Mayor and City Controller are hereby authorized to execute the Erie Downtown Streetscape Master Plan 2018 Mission Main Street Program Grant between the City of Erie and the Erie County Gaming Revenue Authority for the construction of the Erie Downtown Streetscape Master Plan State Street improvements from 3rd Street to 12th Street, and the amount of the grant to the municipality is $250,000. Discussion?
Thank you. I separated this not specifically to speak to this issue, but to make a broader point. One, I just, coming back on the council this year, had a few meetings with several folks, several meetings with several folks. And one of the things I'm most impressed by is the administration's effort to get grant funding and to get matching funds for projects, and to really work in a significant way to use non-general fund revenue or non-general fund monies, again, via grants, via different state programs, to be able to beautify and enhance our community. I think, we get sometimes bogged down in some of the minutia of like, the importance, that I don't want to use the term minutia, has a negative connotation, but the details of having to raise fees and having to do this, and it does affect businesses and it does affect individuals. But I think the bigger and broader issues that go kind of unspoken is the effort that's being made by this council in conjunction with the administration to bring in outside of Erie money, outside of taxpayer dollars, to beautify, to enhance, to add quality of life, to make infrastructural and building improvements, community property improvements to our city. And so I just wanted to take a moment to laud that, because we hear, again, all the details of what's being raised and what's not working, but there are a lot of things that are working. And so I think it's important to kind of do a commercial for those things and honk the horn of the work that we're doing, not because we are done working, but because we are working, and it is a process. And so again, so many more grants. I was in the Economic Development office the other day, last week or whatever, and just, we have a specified person who's writing grants and is being proactive, and it's happened more now than it was happening previously. And I think we're going to, over some time, and probably already are, but over some time we'll see some significant benefit from that. And so again, I just wanted to that was one that stuck out in my head, just to have comment on all the other things that are happening beyond raising fees to make our community better, beyond having to do the tax increases to make our community better and to improve it. So again, we wanted to just kind of separate that for comment. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, roll call. Ms. Allen, Mrs. Arrington, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Ms. Schaaf, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Winarski. That'll take us to committee reports, Mr. President.
I'll let Curtis catch his breath a little bit. Ms. Allen?
I didn't come back for all this abuse.
Thank you.
Just a very short report. Curtis, Kathy and I attended the Mayor's Business Roundtable a couple of weeks ago, and then Kathy and I were able to follow up and meet with TJ Sandell from the Plumbers Union to find out about the training facility in Summit Township. That was a really helpful meeting facilitated by Kate from Erie County United. And having Charlene come today to talk about Tech After Hours was also very useful to find out about the job training pipeline that's out there and where the gaps are and what we still need to do to make sure that as we move forward, there's equitable development opportunities in Erie.
Thank you. Welcome back, Mel. Any report this morning?
Thank you, Mr. President. No report.
Thank you. Mrs. Schaaf?
I'm wearing a green ribbon today for awareness of mental illness. Yesterday, Gannon University had a great wellness fair for their students, and I picked up some information on the things that we have to offer in Erie. And NAMI of Erie County is a place where they have so much available to citizens who have a need for support services for family and not just the individual in regards to mental health issues. We have Gadanzia Erie Incorporated that have outpatient services, and they have residential treatment programs for women, long-term residential program providing intensive care for women experiencing problematic drug and alcohol use, along with support for their children. Detoxification services also are provided for adults at Videnzia, and management for those withdrawing from a psychoactive substance. Dual diagnosis residential program for adults, providing intensive care for individuals experiencing psychiatric complications along with problematic drug and alcohol use. They have outpatient services where you are evaluated, determining the level of care that you may need. Counselors are there to facilitate referrals to detox or inpatient residential services when necessary. They have a holistic approach to treatment. There's a suicide prevention lifeline, 1-800-TALK, T-A-L-K, okay? 1-800-273-TALK, 1-800-273-TALK. For anyone, this lifeline is free, confidential, always available in helping a loved one, a friend, or yourself dealing with trauma. There are people out there willing to help you. What I picked up to share with you today too is a grounding exercise I would like to share with everyone for use during a panic attack, when you need to stay calm or anytime you feel disconnected from your body. There's a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it's to look around you, identify, and name 5 things that you see, 4 things that you feel, 3 things that you hear, 2 things that you smell, and 1 thing that you taste, to be a calming presence to you during a panic attack. There is such a need to communicate with people, to talk with people in your family, your friends, businesses, your neighborhood. There is help for mental illness issues in our community that Erie provides. So please reach out to others if you are feeling very depressed, etc. And I hope to wear my green for a long time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Arrington.
No report, Mr. President.
Mr. Podolsky?
Because of the, we got 2 guests after in our finance meeting, I'm going to hold my comments till next meeting.
Thank you, sir. Maybe you can tell. Mr. Jones.
Mr. President, thank you very much. Very briefly, I was also able to attend the mayor's business roundtable. I don't have the technical name, that might be it, and was some very informative information and just getting different perspectives from different types of businesses and business owners. I thought that was very valuable, and I hopefully will be able to participate in a regular way. Also, after that meeting, myself, Ms. Schaaf, as well as Ms. Allen, we sat with Chris Groner in Economic Development for quite some time, and he really appreciated him kind of opening the book in a lot of ways around some questions we had, and responded very wonderfully, which I think led to some further follow-through on your half, and then folks coming in today. So it's nice to see the progression of the effort and the follow-through bringing back and yielding some fruit and some benefit. So I thought that was excellent. I already did comment on the grants and the work that the Economic Development Office here is doing in conjunction with many other groups in relation to all the plans and all the strategies and all the stuff. I think it's a great balancing act and spinning of plates that's happening, and just we're looking forward to more of that consistency. Also spoke with the police chief, and as being liaison, I do want to set up some regular meetings with him and or the staff in the police department, just to keep us connected. What do they need? What are they looking at? Every department, as we all know, is looking for ways to enhance what they do, but also cut back on what it costs to do it, or find other resources and sources to fund the kind of creative and ingenious things that need to be done in those particular departments. So I'll be working with those individuals to set up, again, the economic development and Chris, but also with our police chief as well. The rest, now that I've kind of gotten a month under my belt, so to speak, I'll be able to attend moving forward, all of my other outside authority meetings, moving forward, changing my work schedule and adjusting to be able to do that as much as possible. So that's my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Ms. Controller?
I'll have a report next meeting for the performance of the quarterly pension boards, and those meetings will be Monday and Tuesday of next week. So.
Very good. Thank you. Administration, how are you?
I want to quickly add on the sidewalk and peddler vendor fee increase. Something that we've done as we were applying for the early intervention program moving forward, we've been reviewing the 2005-2006 recommendations and looking at things that were recommended that hadn't been implemented yet. And one of those things that was recommended back then was to review all of the fees that were being charged and bring them up to scale. As has been mentioned, the city was actually losing money at the $100 fee. We're just trying to cover costs, not make money. And then also Pittsburgh was mentioned as an example that only charges $75, but Pittsburgh also has a business license fee and a business tax, which we don't have here in Erie. So I just want to bring that up.
Not allowed to charge.
Right, we're not allowed to charge a business tax, but we also didn't pass the business license fee during the budget session. So thank you.
Thank you very much. The only thing I have to mention that Charlene Bitter that stopped in from the Erie School District, she's the manager for that adult education. That was a great presentation. I'm going to ask her to put some of these flyers here at City Hall. Back in the day when I was a little younger, I actually took the night course at Tech. Even though I went there for auto body, they had a night school that you could take, and back then it wasn't that much, but what this industry of ours is lacking is trades and people knowing different trades. So this is a great opportunity, and I appreciate her coming in, presenting that to council, and like I said, I'll get in touch with her to get some of the literature even here at City Hall, as possibly also get it on the City of Erie website. The only other, we do have our finance meeting after this. The one main concern I've had since we've got together last time, and although, don't take it wrong, our streets crew did a great job when we had those two snow emergencies, I guess what we need to know as a council, what that costs the city going when we have those. They did a great job keeping the roads clear. I don't know how many cars were actually towed or ticketed by not obeying the snow emergency law, but I guess what we need to know is, I know we have overtime set aside for our streets department and public works, but how does that affect our budget, and do we have that kind of money in our budget to have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 snow emergencies a year? I know in the years I've been on council, we may have had one prior. I guess my question's going to be to the administration and how that affects our budget and how much money that costs to do something like that. Other than that, that's all I have. Thanks, everybody, for coming out this morning. Yes?
I'm sorry, I had one more comment.
Sure.
Not really a committee report, but I just was thinking about all the good ideas that were actually generated today. And your comments made me think of them, Ned Smith talking about, what's the Bayfront going to look like in the future? Freda talking about, can we do something about letting people know what all the various plans are? And I think it all goes back to that communication, which we're really working hard on. The administration's doing a great job in its second year, and all of us in making sure that we're not necessarily all on the same page, but that we know what's going on. So I just wanted to thank, especially Ned and Freda for mentioning, kind of on two different things that made me realize, yes, we have to keep talking about this. Kathy talked about the op-ed that Michael Furman wrote on the Bayfront Parkway at the caucus session. So I just wanted to mention that so people know that these ideas don't just get thrown out there and we forget
Yeah,
them.
this doesn't happen here at council meetings and then we go home and forget about it. We really are trying to do our due diligence in bring a lot of this to fruition.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I just want to make a clarification on the ordinance for first reading. I may have said final passage, but it was 7-0 on first reading.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other council news? Let's call it.
Council adjourns at 10:59. Mr. Winarski, Ms. Allen, Mrs. Arrington, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Ms. Schaaf, Mr. Witherspoon.